Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping straight into the trenches of the internet today to unpack a massive crowdsourced brainstorm on how to make extra cash in New York City. The source material we're looking at is a highly active Reddit thread where real New Yorkers shared their unvarnished, boots-on-the-ground strategies for surviving the intense financial pressures of the city. We've gone through and distilled the absolute most fascinating, lucrative, and honestly sometimes bizarre advice right from that thread.
So here's the exact question that kicked off this whole thing and sparked hundreds of locals to share their financial survival tactics. A user named JJRhythmNation1814 threw this question out to the community. New York is supposedly this massive land of opportunity, yet finding a fast influx of cash when you have a low-paying job, or maybe no job at all, is a totally different story. And I just love that little caveat at the end. Legal methods preferred. That alone really tells you just how desperate the urban hustle can get.
$1,000. That is the magic number today. The goal is simple, but it is daunting, and we're going to explore the vast spectrum of ways people attempt to hit this exact target. Whether it's scrambling to make rent, covering a totally unexpected emergency, or honestly just trying to keep your head above water, people get incredibly creative. We're going to see how different folks leverage their time, their skills, and sometimes even their physical bodies to reach that $1,000 mark.
Here's our roadmap for the Explainer. We'll start with the quest for that 1,000, hit the digital and delivery grind, look into selling your biology, explore hustling and odd jobs, check out the unconventional and niche stuff, and wrap up with a real New York reality check. Let's get into it. First up, the digital and delivery grind, where people are literally swapping their time for immediate cash. You wouldn't believe the sheer variety of digital and manual skills users are leveraging here. On the digital side, users in the source thread reported making up to $15,000 running Google Ads campaigns on Upwork. One user even said they landed a $20,000 4-month coding contract just by networking right there on Reddit. But what about the manual side? Well, TaskRabbit is an absolute goldmine. People are out there charging hundreds of dollars just to build IKEA nightstands and dressers. Why? Because, as the thread points out, a lot of New Yorkers either don't know how to use an Allen wrench or they simply refuse to do it themselves. Now, you might be thinking, what about food delivery apps? They seem like a super low-stress solution, right? You make your own hours, just walk around. Well, the veterans in the thread quickly chimed in with a major reality check. The platforms have recently changed their algorithms to actually penalize people who deliver on foot, which drastically reduces delivery requests. And even if you upgrade to a bike or a scooter, the average delivery worker is only pulling in about $20 an hour. And that's before accounting for their own expenses and taxes. It is a serious grind. Moving on to our next category, selling your biology. This is where we look at the literal physical cost of cash. When you start looking at selling your biology, it really comes down to this intense matrix of effort versus payout. For example, you can make around $550 a month donating plasma twice a week at clinics over in Brooklyn. In the past, hospitals paid $350 to $400 for bone marrow research donations, but that literally required taking a massive needle straight to the hip bone. Yikes. Now, if you want to keep your bodily fluids to yourself, the alternative is extracting your brain power. Things like participating in a 2-day mock jury for a focus group, which users report can pay a very clean $800. And there's this one wild side effect users brought up about the plasma donation. It was treated as a joke, but also a very real warning. Because the clinic takes a noticeable amount of your blood volume using some legitimately thick needles, your alcohol tolerance just completely plummets, so I guess you make some money on the plasma, and hey, you save some money at the bar. Okay, let's pivot. Category 3, hustling, flipping, and odd jobs. How do you capitalize on the physical city itself? Enter the classic New York hustle known as stoop surfing. It's basically turning one person's trash into your own $1,000 treasure. Especially during spring cleaning, New Yorkers just throw out perfectly good items. Enterprising hustlers are scooping up Keurigs, laptops, and rowing machines right off the curb. Or they're claiming them from local Facebook buy-nothing groups and then flipping them for a 100% profit margin on Craigslist. The source thread even highlighted a 17-year-old who's making $2,000 a month just flipping sneakers and thrift shop finds. But wait, there is a massive, terrifying risk here if you're not careful. The absolute golden rule of stoop surfing is to never, ever pick up clothing, bedding, or soft furniture. Bed bugs will end up costing you way more than $1,000 to exterminate, and honestly, even hard appliances aren't entirely safe. One user shared this absolute horror story of a landlord providing a replacement refrigerator that came preloaded with a thriving family of roaches. No thank you. If you want to avoid those pests completely, another highly recommended odd job is substitute teaching. According to the thread, if you have a college degree, you can get into the system and net $200 a day. But here is the pro tip the users shared. Stick to the high schools. Avoid the younger kids, because high schoolers will generally just sit there and quietly interact with their phones all day while you sit back and collect your $200. Just do 5 days of that and boom, you've hit your $1,000 goal. Next up on the explainer, the unconventional and niche. This is where high demand meets highly unique skills. You know, people often think you need Broadway talent or literal model looks to get paid on a film set in New York. The original poster actually mentioned they were good-looking and could sing and dance, but the thread quickly gave them a reality check. Broadway performers have master's degrees. For quick cash, what you actually want to do is background acting. And you don't need to look like a movie star. Actually, productions specifically want regular, everyday-looking people who won't distract from the main actors. You are literally paid to just blend in.
And then things get really specialized. The thread highlights that highly niche work often yields the fastest path to $1,000. For instance, some users reported that staffing BDSM dungeons in Midtown or the financial district pays entirely in cash, pulling in anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 a week depending on client flow. Others suggested OnlyFans, but noted you really need a highly specific, unique angle for it to work. Then, on the entirely wholesome side of the spectrum, there's premium pet sitting. Using apps like Meowtel, users reported making an easy $50 a day just checking in on cats, complete with holiday bonus pay. New Yorkers absolutely love their pets, and they will pay top dollar for their comfort. Finally, we have to talk about the reality check: earning versus actually surviving in the city. Because here's the thing, making a quick $1,000 is honestly just a band-aid when you're up against massive systemic barriers like the 40x rent rule. One commenter brilliantly pointed out that you can hustle all day and night as a short-order cook or a delivery driver, but to actually sign an apartment lease in the city, landlords require your annual salary to be 40 times the monthly rent. As rent prices just keep climbing, a $1,000 side hustle barely even makes a dent in the wider affordability crisis. Which sparked this massive, intense debate within the thread itself. Is the city actually unlivable on a normal wage, or are people's spending habits the real problem? Side A argues that young, able-bodied people claim they're broke, yet they somehow budget $1,000 a month for going out to drinks, or they insist they absolutely need $600 a month just for work clothes. But then side B fires back that even professionals, people like architects with full-time jobs, or people whose spouses work at Google, are actively being priced out of boroughs like Brooklyn because wages simply haven't kept pace with the cost of living. It's this fascinating standoff between macroeconomics and personal finance. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought from our explainer today to chew on the next time you think about the true cost of the urban hustle. Is the city inherently too expensive to survive in without selling your plasma and building IKEA furniture on the weekends? Or do people really just not know how to budget? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.